Hey there, Fire here. I'm Steve Zor and Nabin in the game of Rogue's Tale, and I'm going to show you how to make a Ring of Ebbin. So there's two ways to make it. The first way is with a blessed amulet of divination, which I have here, and you need an unidentified ring of outcast, and I found two in this dungeon. And so I'm going to try to identify them, and you have a 1 in 6 chance of it blessing that item. So I don't get a blessing on the first one. I'm going to pass 60 turns. Try it on the second one. No blessing there either. So the other way is a blessed scroll of enchanting, and I found an unidentified one in this dungeon. And so I get the blessed scroll of enchanting, and this is a guaranteed way to make a blessed piece of equipment. So I can now use my blessed scroll of enchanting on one of the rings of outcasts. You cannot find a blessed ring of outcasts. You can only make one through these two methods. And generally, the making of the blessed ring of outcast is the more difficult of the two parts of making the ring of Ebbin. And so now that we have the blessed ring of outcast, we have to go to the second part, which is enchanting the blessed ring of outcast until we get the 4 primary stats of strength, agility, stamina, and charisma. And once it gets all 4 stats, it will then be made into a ring of Ebbin. I want to point out that both the blessed amulet of divination and the blessed scroll of enchanting are very rare items, and so that's why it's the more difficult part of the making of a ring of Ebbin. So now we're going to go to the second part of making of the ring of Ebbin, which is getting the 4 stats on the ring. And so we're going to start enchanting it. And we get lucky with the first stat. We get lucky with the first 3 stats. That's really lucky. The 4 primary stats will not disappear once you get them on the ring. Only the other enchants. So now it's taking a long time to get the last stat. Usually one of them takes a lot. But yeah, we're getting really unlucky now. I should point out the Ring of Ebbin will give you permanent invisibility if the account you're playing on does not have a king kill yet. So I did another dungeon to make some money. It was a really big dungeon, so I was able to make a lot of money. And I have 12 charisma, which is one of the most important things to have in making a lot of money. And so now we're going to do a bunch more enchants on the Ring of Outcast to see if we get the Ring of Ebbin. And the game is not wanting to give me that last stat. Wow, this sucks. To finally make the Ring of Ebbin, I use an amulet of enchantment on it. I use it on it for about 5 minutes to finally get the Ring of Ebbin. An amulet of enchantment will not blow up rings of outcast or rings of Ebbin like it will with other items. So you can safely use an amulet of enchantment on the rings to get more enchants. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to finish the enchants on the Ring of Ebbin. It gets a total of 12 now, which is double from that of the Blessed Ring of Outcasts. The 4 primary stats will never disappear, so you don't have to worry about enchanting it more and getting rid of those. Those will always be on it. Once it reaches 12 enchantments, one of the other 8 enchantments will disappear and you'll get a new enchantment on it. You can never have more than 1 enchant of that type on the ring. What I like to get on the ring is immunities and then life, which I got. Confuse immunity is like one of the required ones, so I'm happy I like that. I like paralysis. The light radius is useful because I'm playing the mage. Crit's useful for me, and the physical resistance is pretty good too. I like the other resistances. They're okay. Nothing's useless, so I'm not going to enchant this ring anymore. I like it the way it is. Usually I spend a lot more time getting the enchantments right than I do even making the Ring of Ebbin, but I'm going to stay with this. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to work on optimizing my equipment. So the ring I'm not going to use anymore is the Ring of Immunity. So I'm going to look at that. It has life and crit on it. And I got that on the Ring of Ebbin, which is nice. So all I have to worry about is the curse immunity. And so now I'm going to enchant my chest, which I have Confuse and Instant Death protection on. So I'm going to get rid of the Confuse because I no longer need that. I now want to talk about optimizing your equipment once you make a Ring of Ebbin. So my Ring of Ebbin had Confuse immunity on it, and my shirt had Confuse immunity on it. So I wanted to re-enchant my shirt so I didn't have two of the same immunities. You want to make sure none of your equipment like that has immunities of the same type because you only need to be immune to it once. There are certain immunities I feel are really important, like Confuse I feel is required to beat the game because critical hits will confuse you. I feel that Instant Death is required to beat the game. Fear is pretty much required to beat the game. Curses helps out a ton. And then I also like Paralysis because Paralysis will get you killed because it keeps on restacking if an enemy has Paralysis on their weapon. And so it's pretty much instant death if it's not from a poison. And you'll still be immune to things if they are poisons. And then I also like to use the Ring of Elements I mentioned because shock immunity is really important. And frost immunity helps a lot. And the fire's nice too. So that's my video on making the Ring of Ebbin and then a little bit on optimizing your equipment. Thanks for watching. This is Fire, Steve Zor, and Ebbin.